Okay, so now I want to talk about string slicing. And this technique is pretty easy in Python. To slice a string, you're really just like taking a little piece of a string, or we would call this a substring. So for example, what if I wanted to isolate the word Abraham? So I have this variable called Perez with the full name in it, Abraham Lincoln. What if I wanted the first name only? I can slice that out using a slice technique. So I say first equals, oh, you know what? Let me pull up the graphic here. So this is what it looks like in memory, that name. So recall that strings are indexed behind the scenes. It's zero based. And so this name is, it has, 15 characters total, index 0 through 14. I am interested in the first name. So I'm interested in characters 0 through 6, those first 7 characters to isolate the Abraham. So I'm going to slice that out. So this is easy. So I'm slicing out. The full name is contained in this pres variable. So for the slice, you generally provide where you want to start. I want to start at 0 for Abraham, and then a colon, and then where you want to end. Now this is tricky though. This kind of annoys me about Python, but we'll just have to get used to it. I want 0 through 6. Watch this though, watch this. It may seem like a good idea to say, okay, 0 through 6. Let's print the result. Okay. It doesn't. You have to go 1 over where you want to stop the cut. I have to go up to 7. That's what annoys me about this technique. And but once you get used to that, you're fine. So it's always the starting point where you want to start the cut, and then the end is 1 more than the character that you want to end the cut. Okay, so we have first, let's grab the last. Let's use the same technique. So the last name, if I want to isolate that would be Prez. Okay, where am I starting the cut? Let me pull up the graphic again. So I'm starting the cut at 8. Okay, I'm ending the cut where? Not 14, but I have to go 1 more. So it's going to be 8 colon 15. 8 colon 15. Always have to go 1 more. So let me print that and make sure it looks good. Okay, there it is. Here's a tip. If you're for the last name, if you're going to just grab the rest of the string, you don't have to put the stopping point there. You can just skip that part and just do 8 colon, and it'll work all the same. It'll just say, okay, we're starting at 8, we're starting the slice at 8, and then we're just taking the rest of it, which was fine in this case. So so I isolated the last name, all right, and let's say this was for a letter, a formal letter, and I wanted to say, Dear President, and then I'm doing an F string here, and I'm going to throw the last name into there. Okay, so this is going to be a formal letter to the president. Dear President Lincoln. Okay, looks good. Let me change this to a different president, and we'll see if it still looks good. Okay, it does not. It does not. So we have a dilemma here. And, basically, so, because all names are different, Lincoln and Washington, they don't have the same number of characters. So we can't really hard code. When we're slicing out, we can't really hard code anything there. So I think one thing we could do, let me, you know what, I'm going to clean up a little bit of this here. Okay. Let's, we know that any name that we have in here is going to be separated by a space. Okay, first name and last name separated by a space. If we can find that space, then we know where to cut, right, to isolate the last name. So let's say space equals pres, and then we have what we call the find method, and we're finding the space. Okay, and let me I'm gonna have to comment this out. So let me print what ended up in that space variable. Okay, so in the case of George Washington, the space was at position 6, okay? And if I change that to a different name, wherever the space is, it's going to return that position. So once I know where the space is, I know where to cut. In fact, I want to cut one after the space. So let's do the slice here. We're going to say last equals pres. Okay, where am I starting the cut or the slice? Not at the space, but one after the space. Okay, so I know this is Abraham Lincoln, but this would be the space. Okay, I want to start my slice one after the space. So that's why I'm doing space plus 1. This is the start of the slice. And then we had mentioned that in the previous example here, that if you're going to take the whole rest of the string, you don't have to put an ending value here. You can just skip that. And then it'll just take the, which is what we want in this case. Okay, so let's see if that works. Dear President Washington. Okay, let's change it. I'm going to shorten this to try to save some time here. Dear President Lincoln. Okay, so it's looking pretty good here. I do have one more dilemma. Let's say a lot of presidents have names like this. Let's see what happens here. Okay, that doesn't look so great. I wanted to say, Dear President Kennedy. This is actually an easy fix. Okay, here we did the find method, all right, to find the space. If we just change this to what we call rfind, okay, rfind will find the rightmost space in a string, meaning the last occurring space in a string. Okay, so it's going to find this space in John F. Kennedy, the rightmost space in John F. Kennedy. So we'll run that, and it's working well now.